was a paratrooper in the 82nd Airborne Division from 1981 till 1984. And I was with Division Artillery. We were called out on the 24th of October, the evening of the 24th of October, 1983, and sent to the island of Grenada. We had moved forward on the afternoon of the third day, on the 27th of October, and had taken over barracks that had been captured the day before, Cuban barracks. And we were there for 4 hours or so, and we were just doing a prep fire for a Rangers insertion at Calvigny Barracks to the east of us. I guess it was about a half an hour before, maybe 15, 20 minutes before I actually got shot. We started taking sniper fire from 3 different locations in front of us. We were in the barracks up on the hill, on the ridge overlooking 3 little hamlets. There was a drive-in theater to the right of us in the front, an enemy motor pool that we had captured. We had enemy armor, armored personnel carriers, and then there was 3 little villages, Ruth Howard, Frequente, and Sugar Mill. And then we were getting fire from all 3 different locations in front of us, and we were trying to suppress, that resistance. Basically, we cornered really pretty much the last bit of it. In the midst of trying to bring those 3 positions, under control, a Marine Anglico captain, Air Naval Gun Liaison Company, basically who did the same job that we did. And I think he was even attached to us, but he was outside of the barracks. He called an airstrike, and instead of it hitting the guys or the targets in front of us, it was 600 meters off. And it was one of the Navy, U.S. Navy's A-7 Corsairs came in and strafed us with 20-millimeter cannon. Most were lightly wounded. There was Sean Lucatina, who was with 82nd Signal Battalion. He and I were just a few feet from each other. Actually, when the plane made the turn to come in level with us, we turned and looked at each other and says, "Okay, this doesn't look good. What's he doing here?" And he was coming right level with the barracks, and it's like I turned and got 2-3 steps, and that was it. And when that 20-millimeter cannon fires, it was like the whole barracks. I had talked to people afterwards who had witnessed this, and the barracks, it's about 150, 200 feet long, and maybe 30 feet wide, 3/4-inch pine building, clad. And they said that the building looked like it had been picked up in the air 50 feet and slammed down. And it was pretty devastating. I was pretty much in pieces, just kind of scattered about, and seeing all the blood all over the cement floor between Sean and I, and thinking that, I was wondering how long a person could survive losing all this amount of blood, right? And that was when Captain Jean-Luc Nash and Specialist Andros came in the door, and they started administering first aid. And Jean-Luc Nash was, he put tourniquets. We didn't have any medics with us, oddly enough, and put tourniquets on with my belt, right, that I was wearing. He took that off from around my waist and put it on one leg, and then we had some Soviet issue equipment that we had thrown out of the barracks when we had cleaned it up, and then Russian equipment belts, and grabbed one of those and put it on the other leg. Didn't really know what to do with me. And then they threw me on this 3/4-inch pine door and dropped me 3 times going down the hill. Kept saying, "I'm sorry," and kaplunk. And it's like, if it wasn't bad enough, landing in a heap 3 times going down the hill was awful. And they put me and Sergeant Stewart were on a pickup. We were trying to find a medevac. Medevac had gotten lost. And I was riding in the back of a pickup that we had commandeered with the battalion surgeon, Chief Brick. And he's a warrant officer, Chief Warrant Officer Brick. And we're looking for the helicopter to get medevaced out. And it's kind of a surreal experience. I knew we'd been shot by our own side. I wasn't asking why. You know, all I wanted was water or morphine, which they didn't give me either. And so we're riding around in a pickup, and finally the pickup stops, and then they're not taking us off the pickup. And I look over, and Sergeant Steele, who was one of the guys on our 2nd Brigade TOC, who wasn't wounded, is now beating the ever-living you-know-what out of the crew chief for the helicopter that had just landed behind it. And I was laying upside down looking, going like, okay, now the United States Navy's just shot us, and now Sergeant Steele's beating the crew chief up. This is really just a bizarre series of incidents. The crew chief had saw me and Sergeant Stewart and saw all the blood and completely freaked out and wouldn't get off the helicopter to help load us. And Sergeant Steele had gone on there and pulled him off and started just beating the tar out of him, saying, "You're going to come help my man," you know, smacking him around and stuff. It was interesting because I got on the helicopter and I was shaking the crew chief's hand, and he's got a black eye. And I remember riding in that helicopter, and it was like you could see the rotor blades. I actually, time it started to slow down, I could see the rotor blades like in slow motion. I could see it. It was like very bizarre, but I was awake. And one of the things that, like, when John Luke Nash and Specialist Andrews had come in, one of the things that they had me do was they would ask my name, and then they would also, on your helmets, on the front, on the helmet band, they have a name. They always have your name on, right? And they would ask me to read, "What's my name?" And so they would remain conscious and read their name and talk to them and stuff. So they took me and Joey Stewart to the 307 MASH unit for the 82nd. And we got there, and the helicopter's still there, and they're doing triage, and the doctor in triage said, "Forget about him, he's too serious." And they were asking next of kin, reading last rites, and it was like, but I was still conscious and still talking. And I remember somebody saying, "I think we can do something, we can get him on the ship," being the USS Guam, which was offshore. And the doctor says, "Get him out of my triage." And they basically threw me back, well, not threw me, carried me back out to the helicopter, and still had no morphine, no water. And it just, the first time in the 3 days that we'd been there, it started raining. So here I am, almost dead, laying on my back, being carried to the helicopter, trying to catch raindrops on my tongue. I was so thirsty. It was, to me, I'd never been that thirsty in my life, losing that much blood. And it's a very common thing, come to find out. Not a feeling you ever really want, you know. But so they took me out to the USS Guam, and they started doing medical procedures there. And then I woke up.
I read somewhere, I was reading through some of the background you'd given me from other articles that had been written. I read that you didn't have any anesthetic.
They gave me an ice cube.
Did they at least?
They asked if I wanted.
Or anything?
No, they were afraid they would kill me. Because my heart was only. I remember my heart was only beating just once every few seconds. It was like boom, boom. It was just like it slowed down. Everything was slowing down. I was really losing a lot of blood, and I had a lot of internal injuries. And so yeah, they gave me an ice cube. They asked if I wanted an ice cube, and I thought, frozen water. Yeah, okay, I'll go for that. It's better than nothing. And I put this ice cube in my mouth, and I remember then I felt the scratch. I didn't feel anything pain-wise, I guess I reached a point of saturation, and then they started doing the bowel resection where they took half my small intestine out, right there. Somewhere in there I passed out, finally. But I woke up on the, I don't know when it was, but whether it was that day or the next day, on the USS Independence, the same aircraft carrier that had launched the aircraft that had shot us. I was in their ICU, and I woke up and I was on a respirator. And to me, of all the things that had happened to me up until that point, waking up and having this machine breathing for me, it was like, I was really scared. To me, it was like, all I'd ever seen was movies, but I knew that, man, you get one of these things out, it's not a good thing. Things are looking bad for the home team. Because I survived, right, and it changed the way the military thought about the wounded and how they stage them in triage. Because I survived, there's a lot of people I know who are coming out of Iraq and Afghanistan who are surviving because of me, because of the lessons they learned, right, and they took forward. And I think it's the ultimate irony is because I survived, they survived, and because they survived, prosthetic limbs have improved to such a point. Now they can reach back and help me 26 years later, which is a phenomenal thing.